All right, friends, we just did our energy exchange where we found that the energy we would most benefit from having cleared out was depression, and that the energy we would most benefit from calling in its place was happiness. So there's a lot of sense to be made there. And now what do we do? So now I take my pendulum again, I take these dowsing charts again, and we dive into this a little deeper. When I say dive in, where are we going? Well, we're going swimming in the subconscious goo, right? There is our conscious mind. It's here. It is what we're talking with right now in this very moment. It's the mind that you're most likely watching this video with. It is the mind that tells me, oh, I gotta go eat. I gotta go to work. I gotta go do this thing. I'm gonna read this newspaper article. That's our conscious mind. That's not what we're exploring right now. What we are exploring is the subconscious, that stuff that's below the surface, the stuff that is hidden, the stuff that is the quiet, invisible operator of our thoughts, beliefs, and our feelings. And so this is when we go, okay, the chart said that depression was the energy we would most benefit from having cleared. So let's look at the subconscious root of that depression so we can hopefully do some spiritual work, some intention work, some then conscious mind work to release that. And then let's look at anything that is blocking us subconsciously to our happiness. And so this is the fun stuff about SRT. If you are somebody who likes to know what's going on beneath the surface, then this work is for you. If you are somebody who is afraid of what is going on beneath the surface, this work is definitely for you, because what we are most afraid of is probably the thing that we most would benefit from looking at and not shying away from. Our subconscious is the stuff that can really operate us until the day we die if we don't look at it. If you don't look at what's happening on the subconscious, you are probably going to have the same patterns, the same habits, the same attachments over and over and over again in your life because you're just not looking at it. You're just not looking at it. You're just not looking at it. And you might be somebody that can say, wow, this is so frustrating. Why does the same thing keep coming up for me? Wow, this is so frustrating. Why does my mind operate in these kinds of loops? Wow, this is so frustrating. Why do I have to learn the same damn lesson over and over and over again? And you can see it with your subconscious mind. You can see that pattern. You can see that it's happening. But until you're ready to stop and look at the subconscious, address the subconscious, heal the subconscious, and actively work to transform your conscious experience through that exploration, then you're gonna, again, probably most likely keep just repeating those same patterns and those same habits. So for today, this clearing is for anybody who is struggling with the energy, the repeating patterns, habits, experience of depression. And again, then let's look at how we can maybe hopefully call in some happiness. I am not saying that I am some magical healer. I am not saying that you're going to wake up after this video and have no more depression. But what we are saying is hopefully this video can give you a little bit of insight and information about what might be going on in your subconscious, to then hopefully give you a tool, give you an opportunity to take that information and choose what you do with it. Choose how you then move forward. And potentially, it has also been my experience with SRT that sometimes just saying, Spirit, clear it, I hand this over now. I hand this off to whoever or whatever is out there, my guides, my deceased loved ones, the river, the earth, nature, spirit. I hand this over now because I don't want this operating inside of me. So that's also something that can be helpful and beneficial. So let's begin by looking at the root story of that depression. So is there a root story, first of all, that we want to look at? So let's look at the root of this depression. What is a root story here that might benefit us from exposing? What is the root story we might benefit from learning a little bit about? An unwillingness to accept change. Okay. So for some folks, I'm just going to give you a minute to sort of process that. Think about what popped into your head when that came up. How unwilling have you been to accept change? And think about, if you accepted change, would you still be struggling with that depression in the same way? How much of your depression is based on the fact that, for whatever reason, you're not willing to allow transformation to take place in your life? Is there guilt? Is there shame? Is there obligation? Oftentimes, those are the reasons why we don't want to accept change. Fear of the unknown, fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, fear of loss. Fear is deeply operating inside of anybody who has an unwillingness to change, most likely. And again, this could be conscious, this could be something you're aware of, and this could also be subconscious, a subconscious unwillingness to change, a subconscious operating system that says, I can't change, I can't transform, I am committed to the story that I've written for myself, or the story, the script. I've already committed to the script. I've already committed. The problem here being is that the script you committed to is actually not making you happy, and you're afraid to change it. So this is for you. This is for you. I'm going to ask, is there anything else, now that we have that brought into our conscious awareness, is there anything else about the depression you want me to look at? And I'm getting a no. Do you see that? So we're getting no. There's nothing else about that depression we need to look at right now. Now we're going to look to blocks to our happiness, and blocks to our happiness and our openness to happiness. So again, a block to our happiness would be this external factor. Our openness to happiness is like our heart. How open are we to actually having happiness in our lives? So I'm going to go to my percentage chart where I have my numbers. What percent am I open? What percent is the collective open to having happiness? 0%. And then what percent is the collective blocked to having happiness? Did you see that? That went to 100%. That's my 100% marker. So this is problematic. Yeah, you're not going to be happy if you're 100% blocked to happiness and you're not open at all to happiness. You're 0% open to being happy. You know, and I know some of these people. I've met these people. I've had some of these people in my life. I'm sure we all have. People who are just unhappy all the time. And no matter what you say to them, no matter what you give them, no matter what wonderful thing comes their way, they still frame it as bad and negative. They cannot release themselves into the happiness and the joy that can come when good things come their way. They're blocking good things because they're blocking happiness. Whew. They're not open to good things because they're not open to happiness. And again, that story might be because the change. Happiness would mean I have to change. Happiness would mean letting go of something that I'm addicted to. Happiness would mean letting go of something that I'm attached to, that I vowed to. So that's what we're going to look at right now. So what can we do to help us all open ourselves back up to happiness? What do we need to do to open ourselves back up to happiness? Our receptor sites. So this is interesting. You're going to get probably a different explanation of receptor sites from whoever you speak to, right? But on a lot of levels, you can think of our receptor sites similar to our chakras, right? This is where energy comes and goes. Our receptor sites, specifically receptor, receiving, I see them really as the place where we can receive energy. If you're blocked, if the places inside of you, your etheric body, where you draw in energy, if that's blocked, if it's mucked up, if it's gummed up with blah, bad energy, bad thoughts, just energetically like, no, I don't want to receive good energy. I don't want to receive anything. Then you're going to be stagnant, you're going to be depressed, you're going to be shriveled up, you're going to be lethargic most likely, you're going to struggle again to be on the same wavelength with happiness. You're not even going to be able to vibe with happiness because you're so depleted. Your energy field, your force field is so depleted because your receptor sites, the way you receive in energy, receive good things, is blocked. So I'm just saying I clear and release that for you now. Clear it out of the way, clear it out of the way. You know, one thing that you can do for yourself always is such simple release statements. You don't have to get fancy. As you can, if you've ever watched my videos, you know, it doesn't have to be this fancy thing. It doesn't have to be some magical poetic thing you say. You can just say, I open my receptor sites up now. And again, I always know that I've hit the nail on the head with my release statements when my body wants to exhale. So if that's the case for you as well, if you, whatever you say, you know, you'll know that it's right when you're just like, oh yeah, that felt so good. I just want to release myself into that. So I release and open my receptor sites now. I allow myself to receive good energy. How does that feel? I release myself to receive good energy. I open myself up to receiving good energy. Rosie, my dog, just sighed. I think she wanted that one. She wants to receive good energy. Okay. So now that we've done just that little bit of work, what percent are we now open to receiving happiness? Now we're 100% open. So let's look at the blocks. So we just opened ourselves up. Our receptor sites were obviously problematic. That was part of it. And our unwillingness to accept change, that was part of it. Well, that was the first part. But really, those receptor sites is huge in us being able to receive and have openness to happiness. So now we're going to look at the block and we're going to say, what is going on? What is the block to our happiness? And again, once we find the block, then we are empowered to do something about that block. So what is it here that's blocking us? Genetics, DNA, and core beliefs. Our core beliefs just tell us. And again, this is that external thing, right? Your genetics and your DNA are not your fault. They have nothing to do with you. That's an external factor. The belief systems that you were fed all growing up and through all of society, everything you've been exposed to, that is an external thing. That's not internal. It isn't it's not an indication of your willingness or your openness as a heart, as a being, as a soul. It's this external thing your soul was given. Your soul came down into this body and was given these external belief systems and was given this DNA and was given this cultural dynamic that you were dropped into. And that cultural dynamic said, happiness is not it. Happiness is not what we should be chasing. We should be chasing success, money, influence, power, suffering. A lot of us have a family dynamic that glorifies suffering. A lot of us have a family dynamic that says, happiness is so far down on the list of things you should be worried about. How dare you prioritize your happiness? You should prioritize going to school. You should prioritize your education. You should prioritize getting married. You should prioritize having kids. You should prioritize being successful, whatever that means. And again, you should even prioritize suffering by putting everyone else ahead of yourself. And Spirit is saying right now, that's gonna block you to your happiness. And so what do? Again, really simple release statement. I release myself from all belief systems I've ever had that said happiness was shameful, silly, or a foolish waste of my time. Find one that works for you. If you don't like mine, that's okay. Find something that resonates for you, or just breathe it out. Do a visualization. If words don't come easy to you, but visualizations do, use a visualization. See the belief, and it doesn't even have to be actual words. It could just be visualize a piece of paper, and then visualize lighting a match underneath of that piece of paper and watching it burn up. And just knowing and believing that whatever was on that piece of paper, it's no more. It's no more. You can do all sorts of things. You can find the place in your body where you think that belief system is living. You can find the place in your body where your DNA has been coded to have these outdated beliefs, to carry the energy, the imprint, the memory of this belief. And this could be across so many generations, y'all. You could have just generation after generation after generation of your family that believes in suffering. Generation after generation after generation of your family that just believes that things are supposed to be hard. They're just going to be hard. There's no point in fighting it. And again, for some reason, I feel really called to talk to everybody right now about this embarrassment thing. I really do genuinely feel there's a huge part of this collective that is afraid to be hopeful, optimistic, and happy, because how embarrassing to be hopeful, optimistic, and happy when the world is really bad, because that means I'm wrong. If the world is bad, but I'm happy, that means I'm dumb, stupid, and wrong. That must mean I'm out of touch. That must mean I'm delusional. That must mean I'm crazy if I can be happy in the midst of turmoil, challenge, stress, terror. How embarrassing for me. How embarrassing for me to be happy in the midst of pain and heartache. How shameful of me to be happy in the midst of pain and heartbreak. How dare I? Who am I to be happy when other people are suffering? Who am I to be happy when My whole family line has experienced trauma and horror and pain. Who am I to be happy when there is a whole country, a whole population of people being, murdered? Who am I to be happy when, again, there's all these bad things going on? And this has come up for me over and over and over again in the last few days, y'all. It's like, release the shame of being happy. Let's say that, okay? I release any and all shame I've ever carried from my happiness. I release any and all shame I've ever carried for my happiness. Yeah. How did that feel? Are you resonating with that right now? Yeah, I am. And I have to keep working on it. This is not something that for me has fixed overnight. This is something that I have to keep chipping away at. And it's gotten so much better over the years. SRT has absolutely blown open my ability to be happy, and really blown open my ability to let shame go, to let guilt go. But it's still there. It's still under the surface. I have to actively work on it because, again, I will always be a part of the collective consciousness. You will always be a part of the collective consciousness. You don't get to separate yourself from source, from awareness, from all that is. You don't get to. You may be somebody that can observe it at a bit more of a distance, to have a little bit more of like an objective viewpoint on the collective consciousness. Or you might be somebody that is just swimming in it, that is so influenced by the collective experience. Either way, you're in it. You don't get to leave the pool. You don't get to climb out of it. This is it. And if you continue to deny that you are part of the collective consciousness, that you're part of collective awareness, that you too have a subconscious that needs explored and, excavated, you will again continue to operate in unhealthy patterns, most likely for the rest of your life. Does that mean you're never going to have success, joy, happiness ever? Sure. But darn well guarantee that if you don't take some time to excavate the subconscious, you will again be operating inside of patterns, invisible patterns that are influencing you in a way that actually isn't serving your highest good. Okay, so now we're going to say, now what percent are we blocked to our happiness now that we did that? Only 20%. So that was huge. We just did a big old fat clearing there. So now let's look at that final 20%. So again, we go here, let's look at the final 20% of this block. What is going on? Our ego. Our ego is at play here. So I'm just going to say, Spirit, neutralize all of our egos so we can accept and hear this information now. If your ego got on guard, as I was just talking there about your subconscious and the things that you are avoiding, again, that unwillingness to change, if your ego is like, screw you, lady, who do you think you are? I'm just the messenger. And if you've made it this far in this video, it's probably because you really do need to hear this. And it's not going to be as painful as you think to allow that ego to sit down, to read and explore a little bit more about the subconscious, a little bit more about your own issues related to accepting happiness and accepting joy in your life. So yeah, right now I'm just kind of spinning my pendulum and saying a little prayer in my heart for all of us to be able to have egos that can handle this, to nurture and boost up our egos in such a way where we are not inflating them, but we're allowing them to feel good about themselves, right? Like it is important to feel good about yourselves when you're doing subconscious work, right? The point of subconscious work is not about judgment and criticism. And I think that's where the ego just stood forward, right? That's why the ego was like, we gotta send the ego aside. That was that final 20% block, our ego blocking us for happiness, because our ego is the thing that is like, oh, no. If we do the subconscious work, if we release these beliefs, if we do all these things, then I am not in control anymore, or I have to be, again, critical of myself. I have to look at this in a critical way. And I just want all of you right now to tell your egos, we don't have to look at the subconscious stuff in a critical way. We can look at the subconscious stuff in a really objective way. Again, just like pull back. Give it that 35,000 foot view. We're just looking at it. I'm not asking you to demean yourself, diminish yourself. We're certainly not asking you to shame yourself. It's quite the opposite of that. The spiritual exploration, the subconscious exploration is just about knowledge and awareness, to give you the power and the authority to respond better to your own life, to react better to your own life. That's what I am here to do. I'm here to help you respond and react better to your own life. That's what SRT is here to do. That is what it's done for me. So I'm hopeful that it can be a positive influence in your life like that as well. So is there, what block are we now at? Now that we've set the ego aside, we're 0% blocked. And I'm just going to ask, is there any final thing we can do here for our happiness, for this depression? What's the final little message here? I don't often do this. Usually we just get our, is this chart 32? Yeah, that chart 32. Oh, it's so funny. Healing by the father, mother, grandfather of the oversoul. So we're just calling in healing from the father, mother, grandfather of the oversoul, and have deep gratitude for that, right? Like, again, if you don't want to believe in any kind of woo-woo stuff, you don't have to. But if all you can do is like have an attitude of gratitude, it is going to be helpful for you, I promise. Like, literally just be like, oh, how awesome. I got a healing from, the energy of mother, father, grandfather, grandmother, of my guides, of the collective consciousness, of that oversoul. I got a healing there today. So thanks for that. All right, now we're going to do 100% of 100% of mop up, which means that anything that I didn't see with the chart, we're just saying it's cleared up and cleaned. We just trust that it is. And our replacement energies for today for this clearing are thoughtfulness, harmony. I like that. Thoughtfulness, harmony, life. Thoughtfulness, harmony, and life. We ask those things for you now. All right, everybody. Thank you again for watching, and I hope that this was helpful for somebody in some way. As always, you can reach me at www.thepointedstone.com, and a big happy full moon to all of you today.